What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Halftime Show with your boy Courtlandt Griffin. We're bringing y'all some NFL offseason talk this time. Last week we was out of town. Shout out to my boy Isaac Whaley. Man, he's getting married, so we shot down to Orlando. So I apologize for not giving y'all some news last week. We did do a versus though. I am starting a new thing, some new content for you guys, so that you guys can. Kind of be more interactive with the show, kind of get some fan interaction with the show, and give you guys an opportunity to give your takes and hear your takes on the show. So I did a halftime versus. It was the greatest show on turf versus the monsters of the Midway. And surprisingly, right, we gave a scenario which was it's Super Bowl Sunday, and I understand everybody kind of came at me and was like, they can't play because they're both in the NFC. We know it's a hypothetical, right? Like I know y'all have seen it, like the Kevin Durant and Larry Bird hypotheticals, the Allen Iverson versus Kyrie Irving hypothetical, matchup. We know that those dudes have never played each other, right? We get it. We understand, right? We know that these teams can't play each other in the Super Bowl. It's just hypotheticals, guys. But the scenario was down three, team need down three or down the Rams are down three in the Super Bowl. They're on the Bears 40. They need a touchdown to win the game. The Bears have to stop. No, it's down four. I'm sorry. Down four. Rams need a touchdown to win the Super Bowl. They're on the Bears 40, threatening on their side of the field. Who do you have? Do you have the monsters of the Midway or do you have the Rams? Surprisingly, unsurprisingly, the Rams won this won this scenario in resounding fashion. It was actually like I did one of the random counter things. It was like 110 votes to like 42 votes, 43 votes. It was something like 40 odd votes for the monsters of the Midway. The Rams took it. I am going to give my take on this. I do believe that the Rams do win that matchup just for the simple fact the Bears, as good as they were, that 46 Bear defense was made to stop the run. It wasn't really made to stop passing. The reason that it did stop passing was because you had this line stacked up. Refrigerator Perry, those guys, Mike Singletary, man, you name it. It was so many guys on that defense, right? But that 46 Bears defense was literally made to stop the run. And with the greatest show on turf, you had Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Kurt Warner. You had a hell of an offensive line blocking for those dudes. I believe, I could be wrong. I think Jonathan Ogden was one of the tackles for that team, but I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, guys. I could be wrong there, but they had a hell of an offensive line. And then you also had Marshall Faulk coming out the backfield who could run it or catch it. 1,000-yard receiving, 1,000-yard running guy. So just off of formality and the style of defense that was played and the scheme that was played by the Bears, I think they lose that one. But who knows? We never will. This is why these are hypotheticals. But let's go ahead and get into these halftime adjustments, guys. As y'all know, halftime adjustments are our quick hit segment where we bring you guys some of the news that's coming down the pipe from around the league. So let's go with it. We just heard last week or earlier this week, I believe, that Deshaun Watson got a 6-game suspension. Now we're now hearing that the league has hired a New Jersey attorney because they are appealing that 6-game suspension. And from some of the reports that I read, the league is now looking to go for an indefinite suspension. Now, I did go on the Sports Arena with my guy Eric Wilson and my guy Ray Lynn. Shout out to those guys over there at Sideline Sports. We were talking about this not too long ago, earlier this week. And I said it then. I believe that the 6-game suspension is fair. He already missed a year. I mean, though he got paid, and I understand everyone's formality and everything about that. But the man he got paid last year, but he missed a whole year of football. All right. So it's not like he was out there playing and enjoying the fruits of his labor or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like he got paid, but he missed a whole year because the Texans were, in my opinion, being kind of petty and playing them at safety and stuff in practice. But now that they're going for an indefinite suspension, it kind of makes me wonder why now. Is there something behind the scenes? Is the league hearing something about backlash or something that could maybe impact their bottom line, which is dollars? If this man touches the field again, I said it on sidelines or on so Sports Arena. I said it. Ben Roethlisberger got a 6-game suspension. They appealed it down to 4 games. Now Deshaun Watson, essentially for the same allegations, not as far as the number of people, but the same allegations. He gets a 6-game suspension, which is pretty much by the book. And now the league is pushing for an indefinite. So again, I don't want to get into the formalities of personal opinion here. I just want to give you guys the take there. But it is kind of odd that the league is now pushing, and they're pushing hard because they've hired an attorney and they're pushing for that league appeal. So and 9 times out of 10, when the league appeals something, they're going to win it because they are the shield, and everything is going to go through the shield first. Moving on, AJ Brown is still pointing fingers at the Titans. I don't understand this. I don't get it. I don't even know why. It's training camp. You should be building chemistry and morale with the team that you're with. You're in Philadelphia now. Why are you still worried about what the Titans are doing? Now, I understand that Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel, they all have now just signed their new deals. Each of them getting a pretty hefty amount. But the thing about it is that AJ Brown, in my opinion, is better than all 3 of those guys. He's better than DK Metcalf. He's better than Terry McLaurin, and he's better than Debo Samuel. Whether or not you want to argue this, I don't have anything against the guy. He no longer plays for my team. But at the same time, when I'm looking at him and I'm saying it's not so much as your talent, it's your inability to let things go and your immaturity that drives people insane. You are now talking about, he put out a tweet, and I think somehow, some way they need to keep this guy off of social media. But he puts on Twitter, we all essentially got the same deal. All the in so many words, he's like, essentially everyone that got the same deal, got deals. All the wide receivers that got deals, they all got the same deal, and he was the only one that got traded. Here's the thing, AJ. You weren't the only one that was talking about being traded. DK Metcalf was talking about being a trade target. Debo Samuels was essentially threatening to want to get a trade or request a trade, or he requested a trade. They all share the same agent. So let's just go back in time, right? But right to before the draft, and everyone understands and knows the saga that was the AJ Brown saga. He's up for contract extension or whatever. The Titans are essentially working with him. They cut Julio Jones, and now AJ Brown is essentially going into the season, or was projected to go into the season as our number 1 receiver. They offered him $22 million. 22. Not 16, not 15, 22. AJ Brown pushed for 25. The Titans said we can go as high as 22. This is where we cut off. DK Metcalf gets $17 million a year. Debo Samuel, $17 million a year. Terry McLaurin, I think, is somewhere around that $16 to $17 million a year mark. You got 22. That's $5 million more than the 3 guys that I just named. $5 million more. That's a whole lot of money. And you're talking about, I was the only one that got traded. No, you were the only one that was so selfish that you requested $3 million more than the team was willing to give you, and they gave you more money guaranteed than the guys that you share an agent with. That's a problem. And also, we're going to talk about it later. But his quarterback was also throwing some shots, and them boys got to play Tennessee. So we're going to see how that pans out for them. Moving on, the fans get caught with their flippers in the pot, man. These dudes, I don't understand it. It's tampering is a serious thing. It's a serious allegation. And moving forward, it's one of those situations where it's kind of asinine to me. I think they were tampering with Sean Payton and Tom Brady. And the league, of course, launches an investigation. They come down the pipe. Their VP, I think their owner got suspended for 6 games, and then he's like taking off all the committees, which is wild. And the thing about it with an owner, punitive punishment is not a thing, right? Like he's worth like I think like $7 or $8 billion. He's not. That's not touching him. $1.5 million is not touching that man's pockets. Um, 6 game suspension. Owners are not really, unless you're Jerry Jones, or Amy Adams Strunk, or some of those owners like that, or like maybe a Shad Khan. They're not really involved in the everyday um operation of the team. Jerry Jones, of course, is the exception to that rule, but I mean, these people are not really. They're not really don't really have their hands in it. But he can't go into any league meetings, which means there's no representation for the Dolphins in any of the league. Rule changes and things like that, competition committee, so on and so forth. But they also docked them, I think a first round draft pick next year, which is huge. If anybody knows anything, unless you're a team that's like a Super Bowl contender and you're really good, you've pretty much locked your team up, your core guys up. A first round draft pick is a lot. And with the Dolphins, with the new regime, with Brian Flores being out, it's a situation that's kind of scary, right? Because you don't have a first round pick for next year, and next year, who knows what the roster may look like? Who knows what injuries may come? Who knows what the season may bring? You may need that first round pick to, you know, uh, um, fortify your team. So who knows what that's going to look like? But again, the Dolphins get caught tampering with Sean Payton and Tom Brady, and then they suspended their VP, their owner, for 6 games, fined $1.5 million. And this is, to me, this just shows that the league is actually serious about this tampering thing. In the NBA, we know that guys and players talk to each other. We know that coaches and GMs talk to each other, throughout the year, throughout the off season, about trades and other things, and players, talk to each other about um, teams and other players and other people coming to join them. But that's a very small part of how the league works, right over there in the NBA. Here in the NFL, that players are talking to each other. These guys train with each other. Some of them share trainers. Some of them share workout, like workout, areas, and some of them live in the same cities during the off season. So we know that those guys talk to each other. We know these guys come together every now and again to talk to each other. But when we're looking at this as far as a front office, right, when you're talking about two high profile guys at their respective positions or jobs, right? Sean Payton is, before he retired, is one of the premier coaches in the NFL. Then Tom Brady, of course, many consider him the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest winner at the quarterback position. Many widely considered. So when you're talking about trying to get that guy to Miami, and then also Sean Payton to maybe become coach in Miami, there's going to be some backlash, and there's going to be some investigations going there, because they're going to wonder, okay, you fired Brian Flores, who's a very good coach, who I believe should be a head coach in this league to this day. Shout out to him going to Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, and I'm pretty sure Mike Tomlin is going to make sure that man gets a head coaching job somewhere within the near future. Is probably as soon as next year. But you let that man go, and then you try to get Tom Brady and those other guys. So it's a situation that's still playing out. We'll see if there's anything else coming down the pipe. I've heard some people say that they think that maybe 2 draft picks should have been deducted from the Dolphins. But I think 1 draft pick, $1.5 million, and then your vice president and your owner being suspended for 6 games, I think that's fair. But we'll see what happens. I've been wrong in the past. So those were our quick hits. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot going on in the league. It's been a lot going on in the last week. Things have slowed down, but again, we're going into a very young NFL season, right? We know that the offseason is now kicked up. I think tonight is the Hall of Fame game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll get to see our first glimpse of Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and those guys, and that new contingency there in the Raiders. We'll also get to see maybe Trayvon Walker and a couple of other guys, and see what the new look Trevor Lawrence looks like, right? Can he improve on last year? Can he be better than he was last year? So we'll get to see that tonight. But speaking of guys who are now going to come into the league year and be better than they were, or guys that maybe fall. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about our biggest risers in the on this NFL season. As y'all can see, I got my guy Zach Wilson down there, who's a guy I'm very high on. I like what he brings to the table, and we're going to talk about his team first. I think the Jets are one of the bigger risers in the NFL this year. I think they're a team that you have to look out for. Do I think they're going to be first in the division? No. Do I think they're going to be last in the division? No. Do I think they're going to be maybe even second in the division? Maybe. We don't know, right? The Bills are still the cream of the crop of that division. We still know that the AFC East is ran and goes through Buffalo, right? The Patriots last year had a little bit of a run in there where they were the number one seed and they were looking like a team that could threaten. I don't think that happens this year. I think Mac Jones hits a wall, definitely with Matt Patricia being the offensive coordinator, and they're saying that now he's the architect of the offense. That's going to be a scary situation there. I don't see that being good at all for anybody. As having a defensive guy be your offensive coordinator or the architect of your offense. But when I look at this team, they're going to play hard under Robert Saleh. They're going to play very hard nosed defense. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Javant. I want to say I can't remember my man's name. They have a running back. They had like two or three running backs there that they just drafted. Then on top of that, you add Sauce Gardner and you add Garrett Wilson to that group. It's going to get scary. It's going to be a situation where this Jets team could come up and see a rise, and then with the uncertainties with Tua Tagovailoa in Miami, even though they have Jalen Waddle there, who was their best receiver last year. Then you add Tyreek Hill, who's one of the best receivers in the league. If not the best, he's at least the fastest. And what I mean, so they have a track team down there, and then you got Raheem Mostert back in that group up out of the backfield, who's one of the fastest running backs, if not the fastest running back in the NFL too. Can Tua get the ball downfield? Can he push the ball downfield? We know that he's an accurate thrower, but the question is his arm strength. Um, it's one of those situations, and we're going to talk about him later on in a segment, but it's one of those situations where you don't really know what the Dolphins are going to give you. But I think that this Jets team with the healthy Zach Wilson learning from Joe Flacco for another year, with this team having their weapons pretty much solid and planted in, and then of course working in the rookies. I think this is going to be a young team that's going to sneak up on a lot of people. I think they could possibly finish as low as third, as high as second in this division, and make it competitive. So those are one of my big risers. Another one of my big risers, man, the Los Angeles Chargers. No one's really talking about them. Shout out to my guy Ty Ray, my guy Ray J Lynn, and Real Lil TV, man. They was having a debate the other night, and my guy Real Lil said that Justin Herbert is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know what he's smoking, but he said it. I don't agree with it, but he said it. But I'm not too far behind him as far as saying that I think he's a top 5 quarterback, and I think he's at number 5. I don't think it's really crazy to say that. If you go look at his numbers, the man has been nothing but solid his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Last year he didn't have much of a defense. That defense was soft as butter in the middle, and the game plan going into Los Angeles Chargers game was run the ball up the middle. They can't stop it, right? Don't try to pass it outside. Don't try to go outside the boundaries because they have too much speed. Run it up the middle. They can't stop you. Now they fortified that. Then, of course, they add J.C. Jackson. Then, of course, they add Khalil Mack. And then of course, they have the best tandem, a little known fact, they had the best tandem production out of the 2 wide receivers that they have. Best tandem production of 2 receivers. Mike Dub and Allen, right? Keenan Allen. So those 2 guys, and then you add a top 5 quarterback in Justin Herbert, who's going to do nothing but get better in that division. That division is going to be a crucible this year. I think they can rise up and maybe overtake it. I think they could win the division, right? It's a 3-team race, in my opinion. It's the Chargers, it's the Chiefs, and it's the Raiders, right? This is not to discount the Denver Broncos. I like what the Denver Broncos bring to the table. I do think that Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are going to be one of the top 5 wide receiver duos in the NFL this coming up year. but I just don't see the Broncos being quite good enough to compete in that division right now. I think they're good enough to make some games competitive, but when you look at the firepower and what those teams in the AFC West did, they got better. They got way better, right? And the Broncos got better. They moved the needle, but I don't think they moved the needle enough to catch up to those top three teams that we just talked that we're talking about with the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. And I do think that under Justin Herbert, that the Chiefs are going to have their hands full. Under Justin Herbert, the Chargers could overtake that division and possibly win it. So they're a team that I think is going to be a fast riser, and they're going to show people, analysts, journalists, whoever, that they're for real. Another fast riser, Washington Commanders. Let's talk about them, right? I think that defense, with it being healthy, with what they added, I think they're a team that can be competitive. And right now, with the uncertainty in the NFC East, it is it's a toss up. We don't know what you're going to get. The Cowboys are not a very good team right now, in my opinion. We know that what they bring in as far as Zeke goes, right? He's in the best shape of his career. We heard that last year and the year before that, right? So we've seen that, and we've seen him come out and go, "Ooh, man, he's returned," and then he comes back down to earth and he tapers off near the end of the season. So we've seen that, right? The Eagles add AJ Brown. They got Devontae Smith, and they got all these other guys, and they add Jordan Davis to the middle of the defense and a solid offensive line, and Miles Sanders could be healthy, and Jalen Hurts is still your quarterback. So again, we're looking at these inconsistencies. Danny Dimes, he's on the hot seat. Can the Giants really do anything? Are you really afraid of the Giants? So the team that with the highest upside, in my opinion, in that division is the Washington Commanders. Carson Wentz has a chance to come in and be the penultimate quarterback in that division. Dak Prescott, as good as he is, I just don't see Dak Prescott wowing the judges. You know what I mean, becoming the top 10 quarterback that we've all projected him and seen the potential of. I just don't see him doing it right now. They have a lot of uncertainty there. And then on top of that, I think Carson Wentz has all of the weapons that you could possibly want. Jahan Dotson, Gibson coming out the backfield. Um, who else? They just added a whole bunch of guys. They got Diami Brown out of North Carolina that they drafted last year. You got Curtis Samuel, who they're bringing, who's back healthy. So you got all these guys and these weapons that you get to bring back. And then of course that defense is full of dogs, man. That defense is full of dogs. And so you add that together, I think the Washington Redskins could, if not win the division, at least finish second and possibly compete for a wild card in the NFC. So moving on, my last fast riser, man, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of we're gonna stay in the AFC. We're gonna go back to the AFC West. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. Uh, the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, like I said, we get to see them play tonight. We get to see what Devontae Adams and Derek Carr look like again. Mind you, Fresno State, right? Go back to Fresno State. There's a reason why Derek Carr was a first round draft pick. It's because of that man Devontae Adams, who was playing with him with those Fresno State Bulldogs. Um, both of them have come in and kind of carved out, and they've had two different career arcs, right? Derek Carr came in, he had in 2016. It was him, and I never forget it because this is one of the times where I felt like um, the stars just aligned for certain teams. Um, it was the Raiders, it was the Titans. Both teams were right there. The Raiders were riding high, and then Derek Carr breaks his leg, freak accident in week 17, and then Marcus Mariota, of course, we were right there beating. We were beating the Jaguars, and Marcus Mariota breaks his leg. But the thing about Derek Carr at that time was he was in the MVP race, and people were saying that he was the MVP of the league, hands down, that season if he doesn't break his leg. So he breaks his leg, and of course we know he lost some of his confidence, and he's actually still a starter in the NFL. Marcus Mariota is projected to be a starter this year, but this is a guy who has now come back, and now we're seeing the talent, and then you add a guy like Devontae Adams, you add Hunter Renfro's coming to his own and is a 1B receiver any day of the week. Any other team in the NFL, I believe that man could be a number one receiver outside of a couple of the top guys, right? It's a couple of guys that he ain't overtaken. We know those guys. We know who those guys are, right? Those top 4 or 5 guys in the NFL. But Hunter Renfrow, you can say he can compete with most of the on any team to be the number one option. So now you got those two guys. And then let's not forget Darren Waller is a beast, right? You can honestly say him, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle are tied for whoever you want to be the best tight end in the NFL. It's one of those 3 guys, and I can't argue with any one of them because all of them pretty much bring the same thing: size, speed, athleticism, and swagger. Right? So we know what those guys bring, and Darren Waller is a beast. It's crazy to think you got 2 of the best tight ends in the NFL in the same division. You got 2 top 5. You got 2 top 5, and in my opinion, 4 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the same division. Like it's crazy. So I think the Raiders could also come up and be a team. I'm gonna put them right there with the Chargers, right? A team that can come up. If depends on who stays healthy, who starts hotter. I believe that one of those teams can jock for position with the Chiefs and possibly win that division. So shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders. They're one of my fast risers. But for everything that comes up, something's got to come down, right? So let's talk about the fallers, man. My projected biggest fallers for this year. It's a scary situation when you're talking about teams that could fall off the face of the earth, right? But we're not talking about guys that can fall off the face of the earth or teams that are just going to be jockeying for a top 5 pick this year or a lottery pick or whatever, however you want to call it. We're talking about teams that are going to fall from where they were and take a little bit of a step back. The first team I gotta talk about is my man's right here, man. Patrick Mahomes. Best quarterback in the NFL, hands down. If you don't have him number 1, you're crazy. If you don't have him number 1, you can't talk sports with me. There's hands down, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Book it. The man has the talent. He's a scrambler. He can run. He can throw the ball flat-footed 80 yards if he wants to. But he just lost Tyreek Hill. And now I'm not saying that because he lost Tyreek Hill that he's going to have this dip in numbers. I still think that you can pencil Patrick Mahomes in for 4,530, right? This is not a knock on Patrick Mahomes. This is the entire team. I like what they did on the defensive side, but again, those guys are young, right? Frank Clark has not been good or what he was in the Super Bowl year. He hasn't been that for a while. He's been pretty dinged up and he's been inconsistent. You add George Karlaftis. I like George Karlaftis. I had him as one of the top 5 edge rushers coming out last year on my draft board. He falls into a great spot with the Kansas City Chiefs. He gets to learn from a Frank Clark. He gets to learn from a Chris Jones. But the questions about that defense are still lingering. We still don't know what we're going to get from that Chiefs defense. They got Trent McDuffie there as well. So with Trent McDuffie there, he's a dog, but again, he's young. So, you got to go up against Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. You got to go up against those guys every single week, twice a year. Not every single week, but twice a year, right? That's 6 games that you got to go up against those guys. He's going to have a tough time. He's going to have to grow up really fast. I just don't trust that it happens this year for them. And then that offense. As much as I love me some Mecole Hardman, and as much as I want him to succeed, I just have to see it first. Give me 4 weeks. Give me 5 weeks of consistent production, Mecole, and then we can talk about this team possibly winning this division. You brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, but the last time we saw Juju Smith-Schuster, he didn't look like the Juju Smith-Schuster of old. He looked pretty bad for a guy who's not even 30 years old yet. And then of course, the guy that you kept over, Travis Kelce, is going to be one of the greatest. He's going to go down as if not the greatest tight end, one of the greatest tight ends. He's going to probably lead the league in receiving yards this year because he's going to get the bulk of the targets. But that to me limits this team to one guy, and they're going to pretty much isolate him and take him out of the offense. So it just makes me wonder if this team is going to struggle early on and probably come back stronger like they did last year. But again, I think Patrick Mahomes will be a better version of himself coming into this year. I think he's going to, I think he's going to get it. This game is going to start slowing down for him. I just don't think as a complete whole, as a complete team, that the Kansas City Chiefs can fight off those other dogs that's in that division, the Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers and the Derek Carrs and Devontae Adams of the world with the Las Vegas Raiders. I just don't think they can fight those guys off and fend them off like they did in the past. But again, I've been wrong in the past, so we'll see. Another big faller, the Green Bay Packers. Call me crazy. Devontae Adams is gone. Aaron Rodgers, again, this is another situation where I'm not indicting Aaron Rodgers. I'm not indicting him as a talent. I still think he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, right? When we're talking about a guy who just lost his top receiver, you have Allen Lazard there. You've got a rookie from a small school coming in, right? That defense is going to be solid, but we don't know, right? Matt LaFleur. I heard some crazy. This is crazy too, and this is crazy. Shout out to Tyree. Gave me some thinking pieces from that debate show. Matt LaFleur has been a passing offense his entire life, right? Everywhere Matt LaFleur has gone, they're pretty much a primarily pass through set up the run offense. And Real Lil TV said, you got 2 running backs, so that means you're going to run the ball. You don't have 2 running backs. The MO is to run the ball. That ain't happening. Aaron Rodgers is going to drop back and pass that ball at least 30 times a game, and they're going to pass to set up the run, right? That's just how that offense is going to run. Matt LaFleur is not changing his MO for anybody in any day of the week. That's what scares me about this team, is the fact that they're not going to change their MO. And you're in a division with a Vikings team. You're in a division with the Detroit Lions. You're in a division. Who else is in it with the Bears? Right now, do I think the Bears are going to win the division? No, but I do think the Lions are going to be better this year. Those guys look like they have the talent. They look like they're and only apprehension I have about that team is Jared Goff. But I do think that they can. I think they can come in and be better this year. I think the Vikings are going to compete for the lead in that division. I think, but I think that the Vikings are going to compete for the lead in the division. But I do think the Green Bay Packers are going to have a little bit of a struggle, and I think they fall from grace and see a year where they don't finish first in the division. See a year where they probably finish maybe even second or third. Like I said, second or third. I think the Lions are going to be better this year. I think they're going to be competitive. I should have put them in the biggest risers, but there's still some questions about that defense that I have. But I think the Lions will be competitive this year. I hope they don't break my heart. That I'm giving them that vote of confidence. But moving on, another faller, the Indianapolis Colts. With all the additions that they've had to the defense that they've added, right? You had Kwity Paye last year. You add Stephon Gilmore this year. They've had some guys that are that have left that team, and then they've added some guys. But then I look at the offense. This is your third old quarterback. Come on, Indy. It's your third old quarterback. Your third over the hump old quarterback. You had Carson Wentz last year. You had your boy Philip Duckball Rivers the year before that. It ain't got you nowhere. Then you wouldn't trade it for Matt Ryan, right? T.Y. Hilton is still not rejoined the team. He's still a free agent at this point. So we don't know if T.Y. Hilton is going to come back or retire, or go to another team, or what he's going to do, or wait to sign, wait until the injury happens and sign with another team. We don't know what's going to happen. Alec Pierce is a rookie. Michael Pittman Jr. is your best receiver. Nyheim Hines has looked like a stud in camp. Jonathan Taylor, of course, we know is the second best running back in the NFL. That defense, though, a lot of people are hyping up this defense. Darius Leonard is the best linebacker in the NFL. Let's not get it twisted. Don't let my Titans fandom fool you. The man is a beast. He's the best linebacker in the NFL, hands down. There's no questions about it. There's no one competing with him, right? If Bobby Wagner was about 4 or 5 years younger, I give it to Bobby Wagner. But Darius Leonard has cemented himself as the best linebacker in the NFL. The rest of that team, though, we've seen that team get dismantled and outplayed and embarrassed, right? Over and over and over again throughout the years when they had a better defense than they have on paper this year, right? Go back to last year. They are running the Baltimore Ravens off the field in M&T Bank Stadium. Go look at what Lamar Jackson did to them. 400 plus yards. I think 3 or 4 touchdowns. Brought them back. I never forget it because I was at the ACC tip-off last year, and it happened in October. I was at the ACC tip-off. Me and my boy went to the bar, right? We was watching the game. We said, okay, this game is over. We going back to the hotel room. I got to be back at the conference early the next morning. By the time we got back to the hotel room, the Ravens had won the game. Like, it's that to me is an indictment on the Colts. And I think the Titans still win this division. I think the Titans have a better defense than a lot of people are going to give them credit for. Christian Fulton looks like a dog right now. A lot of people are saying that Caleb Farley looks like a starting cornerback in the NFL. That's not what you could say about him last year. He's put on some weight. He looks faster, looks healthier. Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, those guys are looking great. So when you add all of that together, I still think the Titans are the cream of the crop of this division. I think the Colts could finish third in this division this year because if the Jaguars have the ascension that people are saying they could have this year, like the Colts may be in for a rude awakening. So that's my third faller this year. And my last faller for the biggest fallers that could see a fall this year is New England Patriots. Last year, the New England Patriots was riding high. They were competing for the number 1 spot, number 1 seed in the NFL last year. They had a very good defense. Mac Jones had a very good command of the offense. He got the vote of confidence from Bill Belichick, and it looked like this team was going to make a run. And now J.C. Jackson is gone. Damian Harris is looking like he's getting phased out. Ramon Stevenson is looking like he's probably going to be a starting running back for that team. Devontae Parker comes in to kill Harry out. Jonnu Smith didn't do much last year for him. I don't think who's the other guy? Hunter. They got him from the Chargers. I can't remember his name, but I think his last name is something Hunter. Other tight end that they got last year. He didn't do much last year. This defense to me, this as a complete team, I think Mac Jones takes a step back this year. I think he hits the sophomore wall. Like I said, with Matt Patricia being the architect of this offense, it's scary right now for New England. It's the Patriot way is falling and crumbling as we as we knew it. It's falling and it's crumbling. So I think they take a fall. Last year, it wasn't unheard of for you to say they finished maybe second in the division. This year, they could possibly finish third, maybe even last. So that's my last big faller for the 2022-2023 season. If you have any contention on that, please hit me up. Please hop in these comments. Well, I like to talk about it. Because again, this is just projections. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what teams are going to do. What trades are going to happen mid-season, or during the season, what free agents that are still floating around are going to get signed to teams and make big impacts. We've seen guys come out of nowhere, 6th-round draft picks, 4th-round draft picks come out of nowhere and make huge impacts on teams. We've seen teams that don't look like they're going to win their division at all come up and go to the Super Bowl, a la the Cincinnati Bengals. So again, these are just projections. But if you feel something different, if you don't like who I put as a faller and who was a riser, then let me know. I am here for you. But let's get to these training camp headlines. All eyes on them. And I think that's a good way to put it. It's all eyes on these particular players, these particular teams as we go in. Of course, we know that training camp started last Tuesday for most teams. Rookies are now reported. Veterans are now reported. All of these guys are coming in. They're back. They're in shape. They're planning for the season. Preseason football kicks off this week with the Hall of Fame game, or tonight, I believe, Fame. So we're going to talk about some headlines, some things to watch while the NFL is getting is NFL training camp and preseason is away. The first one's up. Tennessee Titans rookies. Let's talk about them, right? Nothing but great things have come out of camp. Shout out to my guy Mike Patton, who attended a couple of the practices. He's out in Vegas right now, living it up at the NABJ convention. Shout out to him. But that's my go-to guy when I need Titans news and outside of the other Titans outlets here in Nashville. But from what I understand, Treylon Burks, and from the videos, Treylon Burks looks like a totally different receiver than he was at rookie minicamps. At rookie minicamps, the man had love handles. His knees was, at that weird like knee thing where like your knees kind of go inward. Now it's like I don't know if he went and like screwed his head off and like put it on a new body or what, but the man looks completely different. He looks slim and trim, he looks svelte, he looks good, he looks quick. He looks like the Treylon Burks that we saw in Arkansas making big plays in the SEC last year. And another guy on the offensive side, Chig Okonkwo, tight end. Austin Hooper is clearly above and beyond the tight end one for this team. But then Chig Okonkwo comes in as a rookie, and they said outside of being a willing blocker and needing to work on that, the dude is some of the best hands that you're going to see out there on the field. They say he's caught a plethora of touchdowns. He runs the route tree as well as anybody. So we're going to see what he does when he's versus another team. And, of course, that's a different level when you're out there doing 7-on-7s without pads or you're going against your own team. You're a little bit more comfortable. But for a rookie to get that kind of praise says a lot. And then the third guy, Roger McCreary, second-round draft pick out of Auburn. He was a guy that fell out of the first round because he had quote-unquote short arms, right? But this is a guy who had a very productive career at Auburn. He's as good as you can get as far as mirror coverage goes. He was one of my top cornerbacks coming out in the draft last year. It was very surprising to see him fall, and so I was elated to see him come to my Tennessee Titans. But the fact that him and Treylon Burks have gone at it. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Twitter, and see those two dudes duking it out, going at it in pads. They said it's going to be a completely different story. They said without the pads on, Treylon Burks was pretty much bullying them. With the pads on, it's been a completely different story. They said he's been nothing but lock up and putting guys in seatbelts the entire camp so far with the pads and things on as training is going on. Another guy that I'm going to honorable mention to, shout out to Kyle Phillips. Mason Kinsey was on our practice squad last year. I think the last 2 years he's been on the practice squad. He's a guy that coming in this year, once we let go of Rodgers from last year, they said that he was going to be the slot guy, the guy that we put in the slot and said, your position to lose. It looks like he's losing it because Kyle Phillips is now running first team reps or running reps with the first team as a slot receiver. So now that we're seeing this guy, Kyle Phillips, who no one thought coming out of UCLA was going to even get drafted. They thought that he was going to go undrafted, and the Titans take a flyer on him, and he's done nothing but make play after play after play. He looks good, he looks fluid, he looks strong, he has great hands. I like what he's bringing to the team, and that's another guy so those Titans rookies are guys that you should watch. And that's a headline that you should watch going into camp as camp goes on. Another guy or another team that we're going to go out here to the NFC West, and we're going to talk about Trey Lance. As you can see him down here on the screen with that nice cannon on, the good form. Trey Lance takes over in San Francisco. What would that offense look like? Kyle Shanahan, we know, builds his offense on play action, quick passes, play action, throwing the ball deep, run or setting up the pass with the run. Trey Lance is built for that. He has the arm. He has the talent to do it. I like what he brings to this team. I like what he brings to the offense. I had him slated as a Steve McNair comparison coming out of college, coming out of North Dakota State. I felt like he had the body, he had the arm, the raw athleticism, the talent, the accuracy and everything to get it done. And he's a pretty smart kid. He called his own place in North Dakota State. So now coming in, it just makes me wonder what will the offense look like. You got Debo Samuel, who's a Swiss Army knife on the offensive side. You got the best left tackle in football, and Trent Williams, so you don't have to really worry about protection on his blind side. So the question now becomes, with Brandon Ayuk and those guys, what will this offense look like, and what will Trey Lance do once he comes in and becomes the full time starter, who they're rolling with. Another question is, the offense may look great, right? It may be a scheme that fits him. Is he ready? I know last year, and this is the same question that we have about Malik Willis right now, and this is what I'm kind of beating the table on. Is last year was we don't know if he's ready. He's a small school product. He's a small school prospect. We don't know if he's quite ready. We're going to sit him for a year and we're going to see what he does. He played one of the games last year and he looked okay, not great. Didn't look like starter material. So my question is now, is he ready, and has the preparation been geared towards putting him on the field as of now? If it has, great, because then that means that the San Francisco 49ers are going with a vote of confidence and they're going with the guy that they feel like can win them football games. If he is not ready, we're going to see it and we're going to notice it. And it's going to make us wonder what is going on in San Francisco that you are not preparing him for NFL competition. But again, those are just questions that I have. What is the offense going to look like? And is Trey Lance ready? We won't know until week 1 of the preseason when he plays snaps, until when they're going against other teams. Of course, teams are going to be running joint practices within the next week or so. So we're going to see how that goes. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see what the reports are saying with him. So far, from what I've heard, he's looked great. He's in shape. He's looked sharp. But again, when you go up against other competition, other NFL caliber competition, that's when we really see what you're made of. And again, a guy that we mentioned earlier, right? Tua Tagovailoa, unleashing his full potential, right? There was a video of a long ball released from camp he threw. It looked really, really good. I was impressed. I was genuinely impressed. It was like a 60-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. I can't remember. It was one of the two, but I'm pretty sure you can go on YouTube and find it. You know what I'm saying? But like, it looked really good. It looked like a professional quarterback threw it, right? My question is we didn't see that consistently last year. We have never seen it consistently from Tua Tagovailoa. Again, I think he led the league in completion percentage last year, I believe, or was like near the top of the league in completion percentage last year. There's no question about the guy's accuracy. The question is his arm strength and his arm talent. Can he get it out there? When he throws the ball 20 yards or more, the ball starts to flutter. And when you see that, that normally means there's an interception coming on the other end or an incomplete pass, or he's going to skip it, right? So again, with that long ball video, it kind of gives you some, maybe we can see something going on here. Maybe I can see him kind of, becoming something great. But then it makes you wonder, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that is that an aberration? Is that shorts and t-shirts material, or is that something that we're going to see translate to the field? Can he take that leap in 2022? You got all of the potential in the world. You've got all of they put around you all of the pieces that you could possibly want as an NFL quarterback, right? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I think they got Mike Gesicki there, the tight end, the prolific tight end there in Miami. You got an offensive line, you got running backs, you got a defense that's actually pretty solid. So they got all the pieces. Can Tua Tagovailoa? It's not the rest of the team that you're worried about. The rest of the team is very much so cemented and knows what they're going to be. The question is the quarterback position. Can Tua Tagovailoa take this team and go to the top? And for as of right now, what we've seen and what we're seeing from him and what I've seen from him in the past, I don't think he can. But again, this is the preseason, this is the off season. So this is the reason why these guys come in, they get paid the big bucks. We're going to see what happens once he gets those guys on the field and possibly, we see what the chemistry and everything looks like. So another question that surrounds the Miami Dolphins, right? Is Miami a dark horse for the Super Bowl? again, I know I've mentioned it, and I keep beating this horse, and I keep beating this dead horse about all the pieces that they've added to this team on the offensive side. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and all those guys. Could they be a dark horse? If the two things that we've asked about Tua Tagovailoa come to fruition, let's say he catches on and the arm strength actually comes, and we see, okay, he shut us up. He can actually throw the ball and throw it well downfield. He throw the deep ball. He's getting to these track stars on the outside, right? The defense is still solid, right? Xavier Howard and those boys is out there, and they shutting things down and getting the offensive chances, right? Couldn't they be a dark horse for the Super Bowl? I don't know. Buffalo is still in that division. Like I told you, New England is going to probably take a step back and hit a wall this year. And the other team in this division, they just blanked my mind. The other team they play in this division. It is the New England Patriots. It is the Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills. Right. So, the Jets. That's right, the Jets. I do think the Jets are going to be better. That's crazy. I gotta wire my brain to start mentioning the Jets. You don't talk about them often. But do I think the Jets could be better than the Dolphins this year? They could. It could be possible, but it all depends to me on the quarterback play and Tua Tagovailoa. If Tua Tagovailoa comes along, if Tua Tagovailoa, brings the swagger and the quarterback play that we think he can, that above average quarterback play that we think he can, then yes, they could be a dark horse to win it all. And I'll stand on that. But guys, those were our main topics. Those are our main topics there. Talking about them. Like I said, rises and fallers. Those guys. We see this again every year. This is why this is an off-season edition of the halftime show. We see this every year. Guys give projections, and things of that nature, and then you got to eat crow pie. I'm here, the first person to tell you I'm okay with eating crow pie, right? Because that's the nature of sports talk. You don't know what's going to happen. You're just going off of what you're seeing on paper and what you're seeing on from TV, from videos and camp and these and that nature, right? Again, these are just projections. I would love to see certain teams come up and wow the judges, right? And show us that their preparation is worth it. But again, we don't know. We're just going off of the evidence that we have. But again, guys, as y'all know, it's about that time for the pep talk, right? This is our pep talk here on the halftime show with your boy Courtlandt Griffin, right? Where we call a particular player into the office and we give him some words of encouragement, or we dig in his ass. Regardless, pause. Uh, regardless, man, our pep talk is going out to my boy Arthur Juan Brown. Um, Listen up, AJ. It's crazy, man, that you keep talking about the Tennessee Titans. Like it seems like you're more upset that you left and got traded than anything. The crazy thing about it is, bro. Like I believe that you have the talent to be a top 10 receiver in the NFL. I think that you are a top 10 receiver in the NFL. The crazy thing is it's not that you are not talented; it's that you are very much immature. You're just threw shade at a team, at your former team, because you're throwing shade at your former team, right? Your quarterback, your current quarterback, they're saying that they don't even know if he's good enough to be a starter. People have their questions about him. And what are you doing? You're defending him. Ride or die, you're defending him because he's your buddy. But what you're not doing is you're not going out there and putting your full 100% concentration out there in Philadelphia to be a better football team and a better receiver and make your quarterback look good, right? You're still talking about a contract situation that is long past. Hey, you got traded on draft day. It's been more than a month, almost 2 months since draft day. Rookie mini camps are gone, veteran mini camps are gone, OTAs are gone, and now we're in training camp, and you're still talking about a contract situation. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You are making more than your other three agent mates, right? DK Metcalf got paid, you're getting paid more than him. Debo Samuel's getting paid, you're getting paid more than him. Terry McLaurin's getting paid, you're getting paid more than him. You are slated to make $25 million over the next 4 years, and you're still complaining about a contract that you didn't get from a team that you said didn't want you. So what are you going to do about it? Right? You have to if you want to do anything, will be the first one to encourage you. Put your best foot forward. Go out there to training camp and show what you can do. Right? Circle that circle them Tennessee Titans on your calendar and come out here and show us why we shouldn't have traded you. Because if you come to Nashville or we come to Philly and we beat up on you and you look bad, oh, you ain't gonna hear the last of it. I promise you. I promise you. But that has been our pep talk, guys. Shout out again. No hard feelings towards that guy. I encourage any athlete to go get your money. Any athlete, deserves to go get their money. But guys, again, this has been a halftime show with your boy Courtlandt Griffin. This is an off-season edition. Of course, there was no guest this week. Last week, again, like I said, I was on vacation. So we're gonna probably bring you guys a couple of solo episodes here and there, just to kind of fill up. Also check me out on Twitter at DC Griffey. You can find me over there tweeting. Anything and everything, all of my sports takes, most of the stuff that you hear on here, you hear there first, depending on what it is. And 9 times out of 10, as things happen, I'll comment on them there. Also, shout out to Ashley Baker, Mark Gunnels, and those boys over there, the Sports After Dark. You can catch me in there. I think they're doing them Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays now. They do verses in there. We always talk about different sports things. So you can catch me live in those in that chat room, Sports After Dark, those spaces on Twitter, to hear me go off and pack people up. Also, catch me on 3-point conversion, man. We just left the ACC kickoff a couple of weeks ago. That was fun. So you can catch me over there writing articles. We'll be releasing our NFL previews here soon, right before the start of the NFL season. So probably at the end of this month sometime. So you can catch us over there as well. But again, this has been the halftime show with your boy Courtlandt Griffin. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys for supporting me through this journey. This has been episode, I believe, 5. So yeah, man. So we really chugging along, and of course we're gonna bring you more content and more sports nonsense, more sports takes, more crazy things, more debate, more great guests as we move on and matriculate throughout this sports season and as things start to go on. So again, this has been your boy Courtlandt Griffin with the halftime show, HCT with CG. Right? It's must see TV. Holla at y'all, man. Check this out on YouTube. Also, go over to the YouTube channel. It's under my name. You can just type after show and the episodes will pop up if you missed them in the past. Peace.